Hello. Cool. So thanks for the great intro. Yeah, it's a bit of a flashback. I think you were our first post-mainnet interview that we did online. So that was like the first time we ever publicly talked about core or shared a public persona of a contributor. So pretty cool, full circle. But yeah, my name is Brendon from Core Chain. We also, can call it Core DAO, but we're basically a Bitcoin-powered layer 1 that's EVM compatible. So basically the goal is trying to bring in EVM composability, dApps, contract standards on top of Bitcoin's security model. We have Bitcoin mining pools participating in our chain, helping secure it. We have over 50% of Bitcoin's hash rate already participating in the chain, and currently growing our ecosystem and helping to scale Bitcoin, which is a really hot narrative in crypto right now.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously a lot going on in the world of Bitcoin lately. You've got the ETFs, got the halving coming up, which miners and everyone else is watching very closely. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about having that Bitcoin mining hash power on the network, how you managed to secure that, what it's doing for core, and just the level of security that offers.
For sure. So we can we'll keep it fairly high level because we could continue to talk about this for a while. But you mentioned the halving. So Bitcoin's been around 15 years or so. Most people, it was their first entry ever into crypto. Very secure, has never gone down, and it's backed by probably the biggest not probably the biggest security budget in all of crypto, where miners and mining pools are delegating actual work and hash to secure the chain. And it has never really changed, although people have tried to change it. So the question's always been, what else can Bitcoin do? It's a great store of value. It's very secure. It's got a great, again, security budget. So now a lot of the conversation is shifting towards scaling Bitcoin and Bitcoin DeFi. It's $1 trillion asset at this point. So people want to see if they can use it, earn yield. And there's a lot of folks trying to tackle that and scale Bitcoin, basically. So core is a very novel way of doing that. Our approach has been to leave Bitcoin as it is. We think it's a great and secure blockchain and model. We shouldn't change the base layer in any way, but that great security model that it has, we should use that to secure other chains and have a dApp layer executing elsewhere. So what we've done is we've really aligned incentives with Bitcoiners and Bitcoin mining pools. We again are an EVM compatible chain, so you can run smart contracts, etc. But we've included Bitcoin mining pools in our consensus. So right now, over 50% of Bitcoin mining pools who produce blocks on Bitcoin and are providing proof of work, they redelegate their hash rate from the Bitcoin chain to core to help secure a blockchain, and in return earn core rewards and can participate in governance. So it's very aligned with their incentives. Doesn't change the main base layer on Bitcoin, and we're really excited on this approach.
Yeah, that's super cool. And as you said, Bitcoin largest security budget, so getting 50% of that really puts you up a step. So tell me a bit about some of the applications that are ideally suited to being built on CoreDAO when you have this Bitcoin base layer, EVM composability on top of that. What does that lend itself to?
It's a good question. So a lot of our dApps right now and an area of focus are similar to other EVM chains. I don't know if there's any specific advantages because we are an EVM chain, but there's a lot of advantages in the security and decentralization that comes with Bitcoin. What we're really trying to differentiate, though, is bringing Bitcoin on chain. No one's really been able to do that. Bitcoiners are very skeptical about using their Bitcoin thus far, and a lot of people got burned with centralized dApps, or not dApps, but centralized companies like BlockFi and Celsius. So we're really looking at products that are trying to leverage Bitcoin. So Bitcoin money markets, ordinals dexes, or like inscriptions dexes, Bitcoin perps, and just really any type of utility that's going to bring Bitcoin on chain is something we're really trying to focus on, because again, it's $1 trillion in liquidity. Even just bringing a small percentage of that on chain is a huge opportunity, dwarfs Ethereum. So we're really focused on that, and because we're so aligned with the Bitcoin community and mining pools, we feel we're in a really good position to do that.
Yeah, as you mentioned, there's a lot that's been happening on Bitcoin lately: ordinals, inscriptions, all sorts of things, smart contracts. So yeah, we're releasing a report next week actually on all that innovation that's been happening in the Bitcoin ecosystem, which you're tapping into, supporting, and I think it's an exciting time to be interested in Bitcoin. I think, as you mentioned, a lot of people are very sort of ideological about certain things, but at the end of the day, like, that doesn't stop anyone else from building what they want to build, from experimenting, from developing new products, and bringing some of the functionality of other chains over to Bitcoin, which I think is what helps it survive in the long term, helps it expand its use cases, and yeah, overall, I think it's a positive thing for the network. The more people that build on Bitcoin, the better for crypto as a whole. So you guys have, whenever we've done an AMA with you guys, a video, a tweet, anything, we get like massive engagement. So how did you build that community? How do you foster the growth of that community, get people interested, get them to listen and share the mission that you guys have?
Yeah, good question. I think they spam a lot of our posts together, eh? And even to this day, we have a really large community. So I'm just gonna try and form my thoughts here. So there's a few things to hit on. So first of all, we have a pretty experienced team that has worked in tech for over 15 years. So although our technology is great, you need to have users. So we really tried to come at it from a customer acquisition standpoint, and how could we pre-seed and pre-build a community through a unique customer acquisition strategy. So we actually launched a product called Satoshi app. It was an app that folks would download on their Android phone. It was downloaded 65 million times, had 10 million monthly actives, 3 million dailies or so. And it was really like a gamified app that folks would use every day to do little tasks, learn more about core, and they were basically accruing allocation in an eventual airdrop that we did with mainnet. So we built the big community that way, and kind of converted them into a community over time. And what else was important to us is we never raised money. So, which is pretty nuts for a layer one that's almost a top 100. We're just about to crack the top 100. So we never raised early token round. It was really important to us to not have inside token sales or pre-mines. So we bootstrapped it as contributors. And when we launched it last year in February and had this large community, we allocated 25% of the total supply to the community, which would usually go to investors, which is vesting. So when we did our mainnet launch, we actually airdropped to 2 million people who claimed. And we had this really decentralized and spread out token holder base from the start. They got in at the earliest point in time possible. Again, there were no pre-mines. And that really led to a community now that's kind of held the token and been part of the chain since the start. So we still think we're really early, but that's kind of how we got the community involved very early, acquired customers, and then gave them ownership from day one as opposed to insider VCs.
Right, so yeah, aligning incentives with Bitcoin itself, and then getting your users to align themselves with that as well, and looking out for them too. So I guess there's a lot of Bitcoin L2s being built. You've got Lightning, you've got Liquid, you've got all sorts of different newly released layer 2 solutions. So where does core fit into that? The scalability, the ability to build new applications on core and leverage Bitcoin's security budget. What's the landscape look like for someone who hasn't delved into every single one of the Bitcoin L2s?
Yeah, so very interesting. I don't know if anyone was at Bitcoin Renaissance yesterday. It was a great event. There were a lot of different approaches there. And there's a dozen of folks trying to scale Bitcoin. It's a really exciting time for Bitcoin, and I think the mind share is really shifting there. We can go over a couple approaches and then talk about where core sits. So there's a lot of talk about Bitcoin L2s. A lot of folks are marketing themselves as L2s, but they're not actually L2s. They're not a ZK rollup on Bitcoin. That's almost impossible at this point. And a lot of the L2s are not actually settling on Bitcoin. It's more marketing language, to be completely honest with you. But there are folks trying. A lot of the L2 strategy is difficult because you're kind of inherently stuck with these long block processing times and some of the shortfalls that come from the Bitcoin main chain itself. But there's new technologies coming out like Bitcoin BitVM that may change some of these possibilities, and we're pretty excited about it. Overall, we think it's a huge market. Again, over $1 trillion in Bitcoin. I think there'll be multiple winners, multiple approaches. Hopefully, we'll play a big role in that. Our approach has been more, let's leave Bitcoin as it is. Let's incentivize Bitcoin to participate in our chain and help secure and decentralize the core blockchain and use the best part of Bitcoin, which is its very large, great governance and security model. So you can consider us more of a side chain as opposed to an L2. We're our own L1 that's built on Bitcoin and being secured by Bitcoin mining pools and soon Bitcoin stakers. And that's been our approach thus far. And there's a few others, some merge mining approaches like Rootstock that are interesting as well. So there's a bunch of people taking different directions, and it's just an exciting time for Bitcoin.
Yeah, and I think the more approaches, the better. The greater diversity of people building different solutions, the more use cases you unlock, and the more usage you get. So you guys published a vision paper this week. Could you tell me a little bit more about that and where the $5 million Africa ecosystem fund sort of fits into the vision of Core, and it's all part of building that great community as well. So yeah, talk a little bit about that.
Cool, yeah. If you guys have your phones, check out unlockingbitcoindefi.com. It's a long paper, put a lot of work into it. Not necessarily me, I didn't write that, but contributed. And we had a great team write about it. There we go. Yeah. So unlockingbitcoindefi.com. Great domain. This kind of highlights what we talked about. It kind of covers an overview of Bitcoin scaling today, some of the approaches, and even some other people in the space, and how those approaches have been working, and then Core's approach, and why we think it's advantageous and the best approach to scale Bitcoin. So it's really hard to summarize like a 20-page talk, but I suggest checking out. It really goes deep into why we took the approach we did, why we're really excited about Bitcoin DeFi, and that finally being enabled and unlocking a lot of liquidity on chain, and how Core fits in that picture. So check it out, or summarize it on ChatGPT. That works too. And then, yeah, in terms of the Africa Fund, blockchains, we're a very pretty retail focused chain at this point. We try and, when we talk about Core, it's like, hey, the next BNB. We obviously had this really big community from the start, still do, and they're spread all over the world. We're very retail and community focused, and it makes it tough to run just like one-off marketing strategies or BD strategies. So we actually have hired general managers in key markets, one of which is in Nigeria, have a huge presence there, and we're pretty excited about a lot of use cases, especially DeFi stablecoin use cases. So the thinking was we're going to launch these targeted funds we still have a larger venture arm, which is what I'm more focused on day to day, but we really wanted to create regional funds that were hyper-focused on specific markets. So there's going to be another announcement next week. I can just say it now. We'll launch a regional fund in India. It's likely going to be one in Latin America generally, and then Korea. But the Africa Fund we're super excited about because we can really kind of dedicate directly in that region and get in the trenches with our GM to fund great builders.
Yeah, it's great to hear you sort of meeting people where they're at rather than forcing them all to come to Denver and hang out with us. But that's great. So yeah, Africa, India, Latin America, Korea, you said? Awesome. Some emerging markets there and some very passionate about crypto people in those markets. So we're about to wrap up, but maybe just as a sort of fundamental part of Core and of Bitcoin, I know this is ETH Denver, but just tell me a little bit about Bitcoin staking and then wrap up about Core Chain and where people can find out more. I know we've got the website up there, but yeah.
Cool. Everyone's reading the paper now on the screen. Love it. So I was on a panel 2 days ago, and the thing I'm one of the things I'm most excited about, or the biggest opportunity, is Bitcoin yield. There's been a lot of fake Bitcoin yield up till this point. Again, BlockFi Celsius wasn't. I mean, fake may not be the right word, but it was. The APYs were not real, right? It was kind of artificially generated and blew up. We're really excited, and there's going to be a few other approaches about Bitcoin staking. So we're actually going to be expanding our consensus mechanism. Right now, you can stake Core and earn staking rewards, and mining pools can delegate hash rate to Core and earn, again, Core rewards. We're going to be adding Bitcoin staking at the beginning of April. So what's really cool about this is you can take your Bitcoin, not wrap it, bridge it, or give up custody. We have a relayer mechanism that verifies that it's there and time locked, and you can stake it on one of the Core validators and earn Core rewards. So this is kind of generating real yield. This comes from the block rewards and our emissions that are paying out for the next 81 years plus transaction fees, and turns Bitcoin into a yield-bearing asset. So we're super excited about that. It's also, again, non-custodial. You don't need to sell it, wrap it, or bridge it. So yeah, we're super excited about adding that to our consensus and turning Bitcoin into a real yield asset.
Awesome. Well, yeah, we'll wrap it up there. If anyone has any questions, Brendon will be around for a minute or two to chat.